Hey, it's Matt C., joined today with Ari Sandel, director, and Bret Ernst, one of the comedians in Vince Vaughn's Wild West comedy show, 30 Days and 30 Nights, Hollywood to the Heartland, in theaters February 8th. How's it going, fellas?
What's up, Matt?
Pretty good.
Good. Explain, Bret, the concept of the tour and how it was all laid out.
Actually, you'd be the best equipped to answer that one. Because
The tour was really Vince's idea.
Uh-huh.
He wanted to take comedy to towns that don't normally get it. He wanted to take these particular 4 comics that he really knows and likes and kind of take them on a national tour. And the film itself is about the tour, but it's also about these 4 guys' lives. It's them on stage, it's their funny acts, but you really get to know them. It's really a film that's about, you know, kind of chasing your dreams.
Bret, how were you chosen for the tour?
Vince used to frequent the comedy clubs a lot because Ahmed, who's in the movie as well, was one of his best friends. And when Ahmed would do shows, Vince would come down to hang out with him. And then he just was in the comedy scene and watched a lot of the stand-ups. And he had his favorites. And he had his thumb on the pulse of stand-up comedy. And when the idea came about, we were the ones that he wanted. Although I did have a friendship with him before the tour, but it wasn't as it is now. It grew more.
Now, Ari, were you there the entirety of the tour?
Yeah, I was there for the whole tour. Actually, I left for one day. I don't even if you remember this. I left for one day in the middle of the tour to fly back to LA to perform a wedding. I'm a licensed reverend, believe it or not. You can do that for $10 on the internet. And so I left for one day out of Dallas, flew to Palm Springs, did the wedding, and joined them back the next day in Oklahoma City. But for the most part, yeah, we were there for the entire 30 days straight. We never took a day off of the tour. The crew never took a day off. We shot 18 hours a day.
How much raw footage did you have after it was over?
We had about 600 hours of footage, so we whittled it down to an hour and a half for the movie, and it took a long time. It took us about a year to get through everything.
Holy cow!
Yeah.
How much stuff did you want to use that just ended up on the cutting room floor?
I mean, you want to use tons of stuff because I mean, you know, we really got in depth about these guys' lives, and there's so much good comedy that they do in their sets, but you just can't use it all. So we picked the 2 or 3 things we really wanted to focus on, and you got to realize that this tour is different than most comedy tours. This is a variety show. Vince Vaughn does stuff on stage. He does improv, like funny sketches in between the comedy acts. We have special guests at every show. Dwight Yoakam, Jon Favreau, Justin Long from Dodgeball, Keir O'Donnell from Wedding Crashers. There's a lot of different people, and you never know what you're going to get with this show.
What were the living conditions like on the tour, Bret? Like, what was the bus situation like, and the travel itineraries?
I'm still trying to remember that you weren't there for one day. You know what? It wasn't really that bad. It's like, it wasn't like we were traveling on a Greyhound. The thing's like, what, $1.5 million bus.
Right.
So, we had more of our space, and, it was nice. We had like 3 TVs. A couple of the other guys would get a little crabby. I was okay with it because I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment, and I shared one room with my 2 other brothers.
Right, so you're used to a crowded
I could
space.
sleep anywhere. Like I could sleep on the table. So I was used to it.
There's a scene in the movie where you're not happy with your performance that night, and like the crowd actually enjoys it according to the movie, and then but you're like really torn up, and you consider yourself bombing that night, I guess.
Well,
like.
Go ahead.
Sorry. So do you think, how was it harder or easier having comedians around you? Like when you walked off stage, if you had a bad show, was it harder being around different comedians that had a better show that night, in your opinion? Or did they like help console you or comfort you, or did they just kind of leave you alone, give you your space?
You know what? I'm with comics every night,
Right.
And these guys, I've known them for years. So I don't think it really honestly makes a difference. It's the same thing about the set. I would still think, you have to understand, I mean, of course I care about the crowd, and I'm glad that they enjoyed it, but as a comedian, you don't gauge yourself by that. I mean, a bit works in a sense. I can't explain. It's like a fine line. Like, it's a great bit because it gets great laughs, but at the same time, you still have to gauge your performance based on how you do it. It's almost like playing golf. You compete against yourself. I'm not competing against other comics. I'm trying to outdo my last game. You know what I mean?
But on the tour, you played a lot of like music venues rather than comedy clubs.
Yeah.
Like here in Atlanta, you played, at the time it was Earthlink Live, now it's Center Stage. You did like the Ryman in Nashville. Were playing at those type of venues different? Like how did you adjust your set rather than doing it at a comedy club?
When you're playing in those types of venues, first of all, every comedian, me and Cap mentions it in the movie as well. Like the intimate venues, you like it. Low ceilings, always good for comedy, because you get to interact and connect more. When you're performing in front of thousands of people, and I think our biggest crowd was 3,000 at one time, almost 3,500.
Right.
You have to just hit them. You know, there's no way to bring somebody, hey, sir, so where are you from? You can't do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everything is just more based on the material as opposed to the connecting. It's a little bit of an adjustment that any live performer would know. But as far as like playing in music venues, I performed in a boxing ring one time.
Right.
You know what I mean? You just, as a comic, you learn to make the adjustment.
Now, Ari, did the fun for either of you guys ever just wear off? Like at any point in the tour, did you just feel like, man?
I mean, for the crew, certainly, because you know we're up all night shooting.
Right.
It was less about having fun. It was just about making sure we got the stuff we wanted. I mean, you know, like, I'm there on a mission. I want to make sure I get everything. We never stop rolling camera ever. So you know, it's really in that sense very grueling. I think. At no point are you feeling like, oh, I wish I didn't do this. It was a really good experience. I mean, you're traveling the country, you're meeting all sorts of people. A lot of them who say they've never seen comedy before, live comedy, and you know, it was just a very kind of bonding experience for all of us.
Right. And your mom was at the show here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Did that make you more nervous knowing that your mom was here?
It used to in the beginning. Like when I first did comedy, I would never want her there.
Right.
You know, it just I don't know. It's just something about her being there. Even though like we joke around a lot, she's like, well, I mean, it sounds corny, but I hang out with my mother because she's cool. Like,
right.
My mother's cool. But her being there, it kind of like, you know, you set the bar a little higher for yourself. You know, my two favorite cities to perform in were Atlanta and Nashville. And yeah, I mean, you know, you get a little bit like you want to do well, but it just comes. I've been doing it almost 11 years now. At the time, it was 9. So
you can kind of tune it out, like if your mom's there or somebody you know.
Yeah, and you know, it's like I'm up at least honestly average about two times a night, 6 nights a week. You know, sometimes 4, sometimes 3, sometimes 1, but it averages out that. So like you forget you're on stage sometimes.
Right.
You know.
Right. Well, the tour wrapped up in 2005. How has your life changed since then?
Well, but what I've done, I was hosting a show for MTV. I was hosting professional wrestling, which, by the way, was why I was excited to do the Earthling, because they used to shoot the WCW.
Yeah.
And I realized that the minute we walked in, I was like, dude, they used to shoot WCW there.
Right.
They was guys like, what, you know, I'm a diehard wrestling fan. I had a little reoccurring role on Weeds. I don't know if you watched that show.
Yeah.
I only saw the 2 episodes I was in. And then, you know, the performance opportunities have made, since the movie came out, I've become, you know, I'm able to get into clubs that I probably would not have gotten into, and more meetings and opportunities. Do
you still talk to the other 3 comedians that were on the tour with you guys?
Yeah, they're my best friends.
That's awesome.
I knew them for years before we all knew each other and came up together, man. We're still boys.
Would you guys do it again?
Heck yeah, bro.
Ari, would you do it again?
Absolutely.
Yeah? You'd be up for another tour?
Sure. We'll maybe do like Northeast, something like that.
That's awesome. Well, listen, guys, thanks for sitting down. The movie was great. Vince Vaughn's Wild West comedy show, 30 Days, 30 Nights, Hollywood to the Heartland, in theaters February 8th. Ari, Bret, thanks for sitting down with us.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate
nice meeting
it.
you.
Thanks.